welcome to another edition of The Pedal Shift Project. The Pedal Shift Project is a series of conversations, thoughts, and experiments on bicycle travel adventures. From tips and tricks to ideas on how to ride your ride, let's shrink the world by bike. Show notes and more are available at pedalshift.net/353, and you can email the show at pedalshift@pedalshift.net or text me at 202-930-1109 and check Pedal Shift out on all the socials as well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 353rd edition of the Pedal Shift Project. My name's Tim Mooney. Thanks so much for joining. On this edition, it is part one of the Space Coast Loop. My now seemingly annual Florida trip is, it's annual, which means I did it again. On this edition, packing up and getting myself and my trusty Brompton to Central Florida is a well-practiced midwinter routine for me at this point. But this year we're mixing it up with a new route and perhaps finally some actual camping in the Sunshine State. But would the unfamiliar route and lack of decent conditioning through the holidays put the brakes on this adventure before we even start? Good evening from day zero. We'll call this day zero. Tomorrow, my flight from Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, or DCA as many of us will call it, is supposed to leave at 6 a.m. I have a absolutely god-awful early lift that is picking me up at 4:30, and I still haven't completely packed yet. I have all of my stuff sort of splayed in a couple of different places. The bed and the living room here. I am solo. My partner is with the dogs back in West Virginia. So in some ways it's a little bit easier because I don't have, things going on and whatnot. I'll be able to go to bed whenever I want, which I'm hoping to do on the early side. And I'm feeling okay about things in terms of, I think I've got all the stuff I need. Obviously, when I pack, I'll be able to assess. I'm going into this heavier and in worse shape than I think I've ever done this Florida trip. For all sorts of reasons, it just wasn't able to really do much training ahead of it. Is it in my head a little bit? Sure. But at the same time, I'm not doing any more than 55, I think, miles in any given day. I'm easing into things tomorrow, even though I'll go in with almost a comical low amount of sleep. But it's only a 30-ish, I think it's 31 miles tomorrow. And I've got plenty of time to do it because I'll be landing at MCO Orlando at, I think, like 8:30, assuming everything goes right. So I've got all day, really all day to get my stuff together. The beauty of this scenario is because I'm not going to be riding right from the airport. I really am just going to take the 2 bags and the bike, and I'm just going to go out to wherever the lift pickup is and go to Winter Garden. And then I'll grab a cup of coffee at the coffee place I'm going to be going to tomorrow. And yeah, I'm just going to figure it out from there. I'm not 100% sure how this is all going to go in terms of the transportability of things. But I do think that this won't be so bad. As I mentioned in the preview episode, I'm doing the backpack trick for this one because I needed more capacity, of course, because I'm carrying camping gear for this. So when I am in non-rolling mode, in other words, when I am carrying the bike and all my gear, the backpack goes on my back. Then I've got another bag, which is going into a new IKEA bag. I cannot remember. Oh, actually, I have it literally in front of me. I can tell you what it is the Fracta storage bag. It is not a robust bag, but I'm hoping that it'll be able to survive the checking process. And it's going to have the stuff that's on the front of the Brompton. So the rack and the back roller, the Ortley back roller. And so, yeah, I think this is going to work out. I think I'll be reasonably mobile, and it'll actually be an interesting bit of an experiment for any other trips I do where fast forwards would be involved, because then obviously the Brompton can come onto buses and trains and things like that. I think this is all going to work out, but the idea is that the Brompton will come on with me. I may bring a very small collapsible kind of shoulder bag with me for what I don't know, because I may just sleep the whole plane. So I may bring one but not use it for this. But basically, the Brompton comes on board with me on the plane. The other 2 bags get checked, and then we just go to Orlando and we figure it out from there. So I think that things are thought through enough that I don't have to put much thinking into it. A couple of things of note for modifications to the bike. The rear of the bike is untouched from any other past version of this trip. So there's a dowel basically that's wrapped in handlebar tape. So it's got some squish to it. That's where the backpack hangs. I talked about how I've modified how the bag is attached at the rack level so that it's pulled out so we don't have the heel strike problem. That's great. On the front of the bike, got a couple of new things. I got a handlebar extender, which creates a little bit of a cockpit, which I've never had. And I have to say, I'm really loving it just from riding around in DC with it. I've got a MagSafe phone holder, which works great, except when it doesn't. It's enough magnetism, it's enough stick on the phone that it holds onto it great unless I hit a real rut. And then the phone comes flying off of it. So I'm glad I've got the case. It's flown off at least twice today even. So I do think that what I will do is if I am on a long trail or a long road section, I'll have no problem keeping the phone in there. Otherwise, if I think I'm going to be going over some ruts and some other things, I'm going to stick it into the little cockpity little feed bag thing that I've got, which the phone fits into just great and it won't fly out of there. But I do like the MagSafe thing because it allows it to be up and visible for the map and for other things, for controlling music or audiobooks or whatever. So I actually really like that. I wish I had gotten the version that included the little extra straps too, but I was like, I don't need that. It's got a powerful magnet. Well, yeah, powerful magnet's only so good for so many things. So, it's good. It'll work. The other thing that's on there is enough spot for a front headlamp, basically, not a headlamp, but a front light, a bright white light, which can also be a blinker. I'm probably not going to be using that very much. I don't anticipate riding it in the evening at all. I do anticipate using it for extra visibility on the 4th day when I've got a fairly tricky section for the last mile to maybe 2 miles of my ride. More on that in a few weeks for you and a few days for me. The rest of things are working great. I will make sure that I give a good proper inflation to the tires. Feels like they're fine right now. I rode it around quite a bit today and it rode great. Shifting is great. I haven't had any service done on this since last year, but it seems like everything is behaving just great. So I'm very, very happy about that. I'm going to give the tires a once over. It's far too late for me to get a new tire. There are no Brompton service or dealers down there in the Orlando area, if memory serves. Actually, do I have that wrong? It's either in the Tampa area or the Orlando area where there are there's Brompton service possible. So, but of course, Amazon, I can probably get one of these tires ordered pretty quickly if necessary, but let's take a quick look at them to make double sure. So we'll do that kind of offline. The other thing that I will mention is that the weather's looking good. In fact, why don't I just bring it up here? This high quality podcasting section of me bringing up the good old weather.com. And weather.com says there's a Pineapple Express eyeing the West Coast. That's wonderful. But let's take a look at Orlando, Florida, where it is currently the Tuesday before I leave at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 62 degrees, which gives you a sense of what it's going to be like around sunset. I'll be camping the first couple of nights, so that's fine. That's good. But let's see here. What do we have in store tomorrow? Tomorrow, high of 71, sunny. No real chance of rain. It's great for the temperature. It's going to be very comfortable riding. It's not going to be as hot as it was last year. I think was the hottest I had. The full sun I don't love. I would like it to be less full sun, but hey, that's what we got. And I've got sunscreen and I've got my arm sleeves and I'm going to be, I think, riding in full pants, but I do have sunscreen. If I do go to shorts, that will be all good. And the rest of the week, the 4 days of riding look excellent. Saturday, the last day, actually looks a little on the warm side. That is going to be another of my shorter days, so that's going to be fine too. I'm hoping that actually I would be getting into my final destination at the Walt Disney World Resort long before we hit that high, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so I'm good without being too worried about rain, so I'm not going to be bringing rain pants. The lows don't look too terribly ridiculous. The lowest low is actually probably tonight, only going to be 45 degrees as the low. But every other night, we're looking at actually pretty reasonable temperatures. So I think that my 2 camping nights, it's not going to get much lower than the very, very upper 40s. So that's great. I'm bringing the down bag. I'll be perfectly comfortable. I think the camping is going to be just glorious. Looking forward to all of that. I've done over the last few weeks a fair amount of checking in on my route, done a little bit of the Google Maps kind of thing. The one thing that's different about this route, particularly the first 2 days, is the fact that I'm on a trail. And so, of course, Google Maps only does so much for trails, but I think that it's going to be just fine. I'm really not concerned about it. I'm actually a little excited that so much of the first couple of days are going to be on trails. The last 2 days are going to be at least familiar routes or mostly familiar routes on roads. Again, we'll talk more about that on the appropriate episodes for you. Last but not least, I got the lock situation all figured out. I'm going to be relying on my auto lock, the OTTO lock out of good old Portland, Oregon. That is a handy lock to have. I may bring a second lock with me, a folding lock, not unlike the ABUS locks, but it's a bit of a knockoff. I'll decide based on how much stuff I'm bringing. I am going to try, emphasis on try, to really reduce the amount of stuff that I'm bringing. I noticed that I brought, for instance, a pair of camp shoes, flip-flops, and I'm thinking I'm just going to force myself to leave them here just because I want to bring as little stuff as necessary, especially since there's not going to be rain. I just want to not have to be carrying everything, including the kitchen sink. This is a heavier amount of gear than I've ever brought to one of these Florida trips because of the fact I'm doing camping. You would expect me to. So I would really like to pare down everything else to only the essentials. I mentioned before, I'm not going to be bringing a stove. I am only going to be bringing the bare stuff for kind of eating. I just got some new collapsible bowls in case I ended up getting like salads or something like that. Do I need them? No, but I think it'll be handy. I'll make sure I've got utensils and all the other kinds of things. My plan is to be doing the grocery store thing and, of course, eating at restaurants or fast food or whatever for most of this riding. Just really want to avoid carrying any real heavy food with me, except for maybe the last few miles, last hour or so of any given day, depending on how things are going. I mean, this is Central Florida. I am going to be going through some very rural parts. There are on days, 2 and 3, incredibly long stretches, 30 plus mile stretches where there's literally no services whatsoever. So I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be carrying enough water with me. That's going to be really critical because I'm going to go in with the expectation that in those stretches, I have no services, no help, no nothing, and perhaps maybe not even run into too many people. I think the day 2, since it's on a trail, the odds of me seeing somebody are higher than on day 3 when I'm going to be on a road that while there are cycling clubs that use them, it'll be on a Friday. So I could very easily only see motor vehicles on that stretch for that time. So I feel pretty good about things. I wish I were in a little bit better shape, but I think this is going to work out fine. I'm just going to take it slow if I need to. I'm going to take a ton of breaks. I'm not going to mess around with hydration or sugar. I'm not in a race. I just want to enjoy this. I really could use a good bit of separation from my regular life. I've been looking forward to this for months. So I'm maybe a little bit worried that I've put this trip a little bit too high on the pedestal, and it feels like it was far away, and it's tomorrow. So that's how it's felt. But that's all right. That's I think how a lot of these trips go. I hate the early morning. I hate the early morning wake up. I really, really hate it. But boy, does it make a big difference when I get down there. I always feel better when I'm down there off the plane and it's still relatively early in the morning. I mean, I will expect the first time you hear from me in Winter Garden. I don't expect it to be much later than 10 a.m. and it could be a lot earlier depending on how quickly my bags get down, how quickly I get my lift, how bad traffic is or how good traffic is to get there. I'm excited for the fact that I could be in just a few hours, literally from right now, find myself down there and be like, okay, let's do this and not have a huge amount of miles in my day to accomplish so I can ease into this, which I think is going to be really critical for a trip like this for me. And then day 2 will be day 2. And then day 3 will be day 3. Those will be the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Robust days, the most robust days in terms of mileage. So fast forward to the next episode if that's possible for you. All right, more to come, of course. I probably will not check in with the packing element for any of this because that's just not that exciting. But, of course, I got the tent. I got my sleeping kit and I got clothes and I'm going to pick up food tomorrow. That's basically, and when I say food, it's snacks. I think the only open question at this point is, am I going to bring a water bottle and my water cube for storage? And I'll just throw the water cube in the backpack or in my front pannier. Or am I going to bring my water bladder with the really extended hose and just drink from that and have that sit somewhere in my backpack on the back of the bike? I haven't decided yet. I have not used a water bladder in literally years. And there's a lot to argue for it. But at the same time, there's a piece of me that's like, I remember when they're full, they're weird and ungainly. And ultimately, it is a little weird to have the hose draped over your shoulder. And so you don't have it on your shoulder. And so then you got to stop anyways. So I think I'm leaning back to the idea of doing the water cube and figure out a place where I can have that be full and not worry about it and have a water bottle and just refill it as time goes on. So that's the only open question at this point. And again, making sure those tires are looking good, which will be the thing I do next. All right, let's do this. I say that like it didn't sound like I was excited. Let's do this. I actually am excited. Okay, let's do this. Good morning from DCA Terminal 1, flying out on my usual Southwest flight, the 0 Dark 30 flight. But this year is different. This year is going to Orlando instead of Tampa, which is unusual for me on these jaunts, but that's another part of the fact that this adventure is a little different. And another thing that's crazy about this morning is how busy the airport is. In past years, of course, there was the pre-COVID versions of this, they were busy. There was the kind of right as COVID was coming back thing, and that was very not busy. And then there's today. Apparently in Orlando this weekend, there are no fewer than 1 million different things, including an Olympic qualifying marathon, major cheerleading or pom-pom championships at Disney World. Apparently every hotel room at Disney World is booked, which I've never heard of. It's insane. And a whole variety of other things I'm missing. But this is a very busy flight with a ton of younglings aboard, so it shall be interesting. I have early boarding on Southwest, which is fantastic. Very necessary for the bike. And I remember in past years that I had been nervous at this point, nervous going through past the baggage claim, nervous going through TSA, nervous about boarding and getting a spot. I no longer feel any anxiety about it. I know that this is all real easy. And I have a backup in case someone does decide things aren't what they seem. So in any event, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm also very tired. It is 5 o'clock on the button right now. I've never seen more people at 5 a.m. this awake. Outside of Vegas, maybe? Because they were staying up. So I don't think I have much else to share here. The maneuvering of things was really quite easy. And I found that if I didn't have my kind of carry-aboard bag, it would have been even easier because I could have taken the backpack and used both straps on my back like a proper adult rather than as a 90s kid, because we wore them with just one strap, and I never see that anymore. And if you had worn it with two straps like everybody does now, you would have been made a little fun of back in the day. I don't know. Hashtag old. All right. I'm trying to decide whether I want to get any food or not. I'm in that woke up too early sleep deprived state where I'm not hungry, not thirsty, but it would probably do me good to get something. So I'll think about that. Kind of excited to maybe catch an hour of sleep on this 2-hour flight. If I could get another hour, that'd be great. And then I get to Orlando, I get my bags, I get in a Uber or a Lyft, and I get to Winter Garden, and this whole thing starts way earlier than you could possibly imagine when you're starting up here in DC. But that's how this 6 a.m. flight goes. All right, off we go. And pow, just like that, we are in Winter Garden. Amazing. I got here before 9:30, got dropped off. That was remarkable. It was a very efficient setup, and I don't know what road I'm on. It is the main drag here, and the Florida Coast to Coast Trail, and the trail that makes up it. Again, the Florida Coast to Coast system is a regional trail, statewide trail. It's made up of smaller regional trails. I cannot remember which one this is. I will try to make sure I identify the specific trails when I'm on them, but it runs right through the middle of town here. I am a little concerned that I might get a takedown notice because they are playing Cheap Trick's The Flame in the background, which might be audible enough to hear. I hope not. If it is, it would be a bummer. Let's see. So maybe I won't talk too much longer here in this particular spot and do some more later. I am not exactly where I thought I was going to be. I thought I was going to be right in front of a coffee place, and it may just be like a couple of businesses down from here, and that's fine. My intention is to get the bike built, get everything on there, and then roll down there and see if I can get a coffee and lock up and be safe there, just to get some caffeine in me. I slept like a rock on the plane, which was remarkable. I don't think I've ever slept that good sitting straight up like that. So it worked out really well. It felt like teleporting, to be perfectly honest, because I fell asleep right when we took off at about 6:05, and I wasn't aware of anything until about 7:30. Like, I was really out. It was pretty crazy. Okay, anything to say? Everything looks undamaged. Everything moved pretty well. I would say that a couple of things. The IKEA bag worked fine. The dowel that is what I hang my backpack on poked out of it. It's not the most sturdy material. So I think that if I were to do this again, I would just attach that to my saddle in Orlando next time, or Winter Garden, I guess, and rather than have it pre-set up. It's just too many things that can poke out. Also, my new kickstand poked out through my stealth cover, which I wouldn't expect. Those things, I think, have a finite amount of time on them, but everything's fine. Nothing's really damaged, and yeah, this has worked out really well so far. Okay, let's get some coffee. From Axum Coffee here on Plant Street. I mentioned one of my goals this year for my tours was take things a little bit slower and enjoy local stuff as much as possible. Well, here I am, enjoying local stuff. Sorry for the motor vehicle noise. Plant Street is slow but busy with... I'm going to say, I'm not sure if that Dodge Ram that went by is being used for its fullest potential. Truck culture is an interesting thing. If you own a truck, I do not bemoan your use of a truck. I just think a lot of people own pickup trucks because they like to be the type of person who rides around in a pickup truck, but they don't really need it or use it. Anyways, that's just me. Back to the thing at hand. I'm enjoying a cortado and a locally made, what do they call it? An apple cinnamon tart to start my day here. And I promised, I believe, that I would be giving ratings for these things here. Axum Coffee, vibes. I'm gonna give it a very high score. I'm gonna give it like a 9 out of 10. Very solid. You're right here on the trail. Very, very delightful time. Music everywhere, which is nice, which hopefully will not bring me down. If I'm brought down for this particular portion, it would be because of the Supremes. There are worse ways to be brought down. Okay, so I give a 9 out of 10 to the shop. The cortado, really solid, very pretty, very nice. We'll give that a 9. And the tart, it's good. It's good, not great. I think we're going to go with like a 7 on that one. So no 44 is handed out. It is a scale of 1 to 10. However, for the truly greatest things in the world, they get the pedal shift score of 44. I do not dole those out very often. Or do I? I think I do. I don't know. Anyways, lots of nines. Lots of nines here today and enjoying things. The bike is all packed. The bike is double locked. I think I had mentioned that I wasn't sure if I was going to bring a particular lock. I brought both. I'm glad I did. a little extra security because I can't fold this bike, obviously, when it's fully loaded. And I do like the idea of being able to lock it to itself twice if necessary, at, like, say, a gas station, which is a very typical thing for me. But here, where there's actually good bike parking and good bike parking mechanisms, so the one with, like, the circle in it, it was really easy to get the very low frame of the Brompton locked in there. I am typically not a person who likes to lock my Brompton up. I don't think any Brompton owner really is. But when you're loaded like this, it's just not really possible to unload everything and bring it into a shop and all that. It's just, it's not feasible on a tour like this. So you lock it up, and that's fine. And it works out great. Lots of people using the trail today, as you would expect. It is gorgeous out. It's in the upper 50s. People are wearing like full puffy coats and stuff, which I think is hysterical because I'm like, do I go into shorts? So we'll see. I am definitely going to consider shorts later. The sun is not super strong today, but it is out. It is full sun. We'll see how it goes in terms of sun exposure. I do have a whole variety of ways to cover up today. I think I'm going to start with my long sleeve merino wool sweater on and my long pants, and I'll probably warm up way too quickly and then need to strip off and then reconsider things. So I do think I'm going to end up doing some kind of a change later on the trail. I suspect that there are probably places with porta potties and stuff like that further down. I don't know, so it's a little bit of a risk, but I think it'll work out okay. Better than changing in a bathroom here. The town's a little too nice for that, if you catch my drift. Oh, Winter Garden. I heard good things about it. It's a very nice, walkable, bikeable downtown, and beautiful shops, and like I said, just having the music and everything. It's nice. It's nice in the end of January as I'm sitting here to be able to experience this, because back home, it's pretty chilly. All right, I think we're going to start riding fairly soon, so more to come on that, huh? Not very far at all. In fact, definitely not outside of the town yet, but confirmed we are on the West Orange Trail, and I am here in one of the parks. Let's see. This is we're a few miles further in on the West Orange Trail than I had originally planned way back in the day. I think I talked about this in the preview episode, that I was originally going to start in Claremont rather than here in Winter Garden, but the camping scenario made it better for a start here, so I won't be a completist about this trail. But it is beautiful and paved, and on a beautiful sunny day like this, it's not so bad at all. The Spanish moss on the trees, very Central Florida of vibes here, and the bike is performing excellently. I have a newish, to me, probably new since the last time I've done any talking, mirror for this bike, and it's because the old mirror that I had, which I really liked, was no longer being manufactured, so I had to get a different one. It doesn't quite fit all the way into the handlebar, but it's enough that it works, and I actually like the mirror itself better, even though it's not fully as installed as I would like. It doesn't impact the fold at all, which is great. I also really am loving this cockpit. The ability to have my phone higher, flatter. I can put it on with a magnet, so it's very easy to take on and take off, which makes things a lot better, I will have to say. All right, let's get some miles in. Oh, I see an e-bike shop. I don't got time for that. I don't got time for e-bikes. It's a little clown bike all the way for this trip. Taking a brief break to get into more spring-like attire as the temperature has gone up, and I don't want to sweat if in the low 60-degree temperatures that I'm getting right now. So I have removed the merino sweater. I have put on some sunscreen on face and neck, and I have now put on my black sun sleeves. I bought a multi-pack of them, I think a couple seasons ago, and I lose them. I don't know, do you have sun sleeves? Do you lose them? I lose them all the time. These were my only pair left, so not ideal for warmer temperatures, but actually might be nice in the mornings if I get early starts, which I intend to. So, one other thing of note, it's hilly.
This West Orange Trail is much, much hillier than I expected. I did see the profile. Now, let's also say it's Florida hilly, meaning it's not just flat, but there are some relatively steep parts, which are not very long. Certainly nothing for those of you who are in mountainous areas or used to terrain of note. But it is something that I found interesting and notable. Lots of schools. You might be able to pick up the sounds of children playing, which to some people is delightful, and others not so much. I won't tell you which side I'm on. And I am going along. Wind is coming, I think, from the north primarily, and it's gusty. Apparently we are going to get heavier wind later today. I may get to camp before then. It depends on how fast I go. Speaking of speed, I am not exactly going super fast. I do now recall how this bike is not great for maintaining above 10 miles per hour when it's loaded like this. It cuts through the wind better than a panniered bike with side panniers, but it just doesn't move super fast. Construction. I always talk about how Central Florida is building. And I'm certainly seeing that here, well north of Orlando and Winter Garden, and I'll be going to Apopka next. These are areas I'm not as familiar with, have never spent much time up this direction. So it's interesting to see that the growth is still quite robust up here, especially considering I've been reading a lot about Florida and housing prices and insurance. Good luck insuring your home down here. Those of you who are in Florida, you can probably speak to it better than I can, but it seems that it's quite the feat, and it is very expensive when you can find it. Interesting that would be the case inland as well, but of course hurricanes can and do impact Central Florida as much as they do the coastal areas, so I'm sure that's part of it. But yeah, insurance companies not betting on Florida very much lately. So we've got plenty of time, plenty of miles to go, and today I'm doing the slow ride style. Again, another of the goals that I talked about, where I'm not pushing, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm just taking it all in. I just saw a big raptor up here. I'm really enjoying this trail, having done this ride for years, where I'm on sidewalks and on really busy roads for long periods of time with traffic noise, and you of course have heard that too on the tour journals. Boy, it's nice to have some peace and quiet. I think if I were to repeat this ride again next year, which it seems like a tradition at this point, I am definitely going to be thinking more about utilizing this trail and some of the other trails in the statewide network. There are others outside of Central Florida as well. So maybe, just like I said last year, where I said, hold me to it. I'm going to do the trail and I'm going to camp. Well, I did that. I think I might by the end of these 4 days of riding, have you hold me to a longer, more on the trail, less loopy, maybe a point A to point B tour, like the very first one, where I do cross the entire state using the C2C trail system, which does have many road components, and apparently one kind of terrible one on the Florida Route 50. But how could it be worse than anything else I've ever done in this fine state? Okay, we are still, by the way, in Winter Garden. According to the sign, I'm going by a retention pond, or a percolation pond, which may be different. The water table around here is very different than what I'm used to. And resources around here, freshwater resources in Florida, are tough because of the brackish intrusion from all sides of the state. All right, this trail condition, before I let you go on this particular chapter here, absolutely stunningly good. I mean, the weather conditions in this state, and I assume the vegetative growth, the lack of roots, it's just really perfect. I mean, I have a hard time finding even any cracks in the asphalt here. And this isn't brand new asphalt either. It's not super thick like in other parts of the country where you got to put down a super thick layer. So, This is I found a crack. I finally found a crack after a few minutes of not seeing one. The riding condition is absolutely tremendous. So if you are a paved route person, you can do a whole lot worse than the West Orange Trail and the paved portions, presumably of the rest of the C2C Trail, but I will give those ratings. It's not perfect, but it is delightful. As someone who does a fair bit of crushed limestone and a teeny bit of gravel riding, this is a lot easier, especially with a little clown bike that's loaded up with a backpack on it. Okay, we are crossing under what looks to be a major highway. This might be the Florida Turnpike. This looks like it. I think this might have been the exit that I came out on when getting the ride from the airport. All right, more to come. Took a bit of a break at a 7-Eleven, conveniently right outside of the trail area, which is now basically a glorified sidewalk here along a 4-lane highway. So kind of what I was used to. Interesting, there are a lot of horse ranches around here. Beautiful trees, again with that Spanish moss that is so beautiful in this part of the world. And the trail is interesting, not a lot of amenities. I was hoping for a bike station to maybe give my tires a pump up without having to use my hand pump, which is, the Brompton one it's great. It fits in the frame. It's really handy. You don't even notice it's there, but it's not the best pump. It's more of a, you got a flat, get enough air in there to move the thing. So I tend not to use it to try to get up to full inflation. I think they're fine, but I would like to give them another pump up. I think I had mentioned that I was going to do that when I looked at the tires last night, which was only a few minutes ago for you. But I only looked at the tires and never got around to dealing with the inflation. Probably should have, but they seemed fine, so I was like, oh, I'll do it later, and then just never did it. This is Clarcona Ocoee Road, or Osoe? Probably Ocoee. I'm assuming a lot of these are derived from the native names of the original inhabitants of this area. And my pronunciation skills for them are lacking. So let's see, we are not, we're maybe about a third of the way, a little more than a third of the way through the miles of this day. I was originally going to stop and get a bunch of snacks at a Publix
in a quarter
miles back,
turn right.
5 miles back, but then decided against it because I just wasn't needing it. And then this 7-Eleven was handy. I was able to get a Gatorade, some more water, and then just a little sugary thing that kind of tide me over until I get lunch, which is probably another 10 miles or so, I'm thinking, if I'm hungry. We'll see. I'm not going to stress too much about it. The crossings are at grade here, so you either have to wait on stoplights or kind of look both ways like they tell you to do. And I was doing the look both ways there. Not a super busy traffic road, but enough that you do want to be paying attention. It's actually that kind of middle ground that can be so dangerous, where you just assume, oh, I can just cross wherever, and it turns out someone's turning right then and there, which was the case then. Alrighty, not much to crow about around here. We're definitely in a more working class kind of vibe of an area. A lot of older single-story homes. This is not part of the building craze. Probably an older community here, but very nice nonetheless. You can probably hear from my huffing and puffing. I'm going up yet another grade. Interesting. I should have paid more attention to the grades on all of this today. Not as flat. Reminds me of the area around Lakeland where you get similar kinds of hills. Nothing crazy, just not flat. Well off the West Orange Trail now, and we're on some road routes. I will say this is not very well signed now. I don't know if I am on an official route or if I am on
Turn left onto Paladin Way.
Some wackadoodle back way here. I'm in a residential area, which is not unheard of for my riding in this part of the state, but this does not feel like the official C-to-C route. I don't see any signage for it. So I don't know if this is exactly right. I do know that I'll get connected, no problem. This is, I think, a well-trodden route on Google Maps and on Ride with GPS and others, presumably Strava as well. So I don't know. It's working. It's nice back here, away from the traffic. So we like that. But if you were wanting Empire State Trail signage, you're not quite getting that here yet. That might be coming later on. From Seminole County, we just crossed over. We're now on the Seminole Hiba Trail. Another fantastic trail. I mean, I've only been on it for a couple hundred meters here, and different surface. It's a little more like a chip seal, but like a high-end chip seal. So it's got some grit, not grit, but some texture to it. It is not smooth like an asphalt. So it's, I'd say, a notch down from the West Orange Trail in terms of surface, but I mean, it's fantastic. It's really wide. I mean, it could be 20 feet wide. It's at least 15 feet wide. It's very wide here. Passed by my first person who has camping gear on their bike. Don't know which way he was going, but I waved and said hello. So there's that. There might be other folks out and about doing what I'm doing, which is fun. I typically do not see that on my Florida trips because, of course, I'm doing roofed lodging anyways, but I rarely see folks on it. Nice markers on this. There's quarter-mile distance markers, so you know where you're going. I got about maybe another 5-ish or so miles before I think I may take a break of note. I haven't really taken anything more than a couple of minutes, and I haven't even used a bathroom yet. So I think that would be a good opportunity for me to do all of those things. Maybe top off my phone, do the sit-down lunch kind of thing. Today is not a speed day by any stretch of the imagination. This trail is along a power line right of way, which is a pretty typical thing here in Florida. And of course we got them in Virginia as well. The WOD, the Washington Old Dominion Trail, that is a power line right of way, which I think are fantastic multi-tiered uses of right-of-ways. So power companies, get with it. Or I guess they're transmission companies. They could be the same. That's my unique knowledge of energy and energy law. I was in the energy law clinic at Pace University. Yeah. Anyways, that little bit of knowledge that is useless to you. I am now about a half mile down the trail, and I will let you go. But I am thrilled to be on a trail again and away from the traffic, because that was starting to get a little bit less than exciting. So nice to be on the trail again. By the way, I will be in mostly trails for these first 2 days, this week and next week for you, today and tomorrow for me. That was where I was going to originally camp tonight, had I started in Claremont. But given that I'm going to go a little further, I wanted to make today's mileage a little less, and I'm glad I did. This road would have been my route to get back onto this trail.
In 2 1/4 miles, turn slide right.
And it's busy. It's real busy. So I'm glad that I made the change that I did. Even though I didn't get all of the West Orange Trail, I think that this is a far superior situation, and I still had to do road-related stuff. I might have just deviated off of trail. So I will let you go and go from there. Signage, not great. Have your maps with you, folks. From Hickles in New York Deli, somewhere in Florida. I have no idea where I'm at. I think I'm close to Apopka, so maybe we'll call it that. The wind is picking up as advertised on the app, on the weather app. I decided I had a couple of choices here in this area, and then things get real quiet until we get closer to camp. And these were the right choices. I had Four Rivers Smokehouse or something like that, a local option. Also the Pickles New York Deli. Now, of course, you're saying New York Deli in Florida. Folks, lots of people from New York end up down here. A lot. And let me tell you, we're going to hear your ratings. Let's go with the Sanford Golden Ale. Local beer. 8 out of 10. Very solid, very good. I actually enjoyed it. I needed something with a low ABV. I wanted something to kind of replace some calories, get some carbs into me, but not too much alcohol that would impact my riding, because we all know how I hate riding on a beer typically. But a low ABV, we're good. Okay, I don't eat a lot of meat. I don't. But I am also, as I say frequently, powerless against the Reuben. And at a proper New York deli that was very crowded, which gave me a sense, way more so than the barbecue place, by the way. I was like, this might be the place. And folks, this is your first 44 stars. It's a pedal ship 44-star rating for the Reuben here. I got the half Reuben because I'm not an idiot. I still have to ride another 10. And it's a little bit more. It's probably closer to 12 miles, 13 miles for the rest of the day. But yeah, it'll be heavy on me, but I only got the half Reuben. Really amazing. 44 stars. Come to Pickles New York Deli here in, I guess, Apopka? South Apopka? I have no idea where I'm at. In any event, I'm also very close. I have to go back under I-4 again. I had to come across I-4 to get here, but there were plenty of sidewalks and other easy thoroughfares to get back to the trail. The trail's been great. I'm really excited to get back on it again and get away from all the traffic, but it was necessary to get off to get to some food. I feel much more rejuvenated right now. I did need a break. I'm doing that thing I do so often where I just pound out miles and I'm like, I'm not gonna stop until this lengthy break later on in the day. So I did 20 miles, which was probably unnecessary considering, but it's fine. I'm enjoying a nice lengthy break here, and yeah, that's good. I do feel good. I think I'm gonna give myself a little bit of a stretch before I get rolling again, or maybe I'll roll out of here so I'm not stretching in front of lunch goers here at the Pickles in New York Deli. By the way, do you think the pickles are good? The pickles were also good. I'm not gonna give them 44 stars. Would I go 10 out of 10 though on a pickle? We're going to go 9 out of 10. It was a delicious pickle. I don't think it was a standout. It wasn't like the greatest pickle I've ever had. So, okay, we're going to go 9 out of 10. But yeah, it Pickles New York Deli. Come here. It's good. All right, I think I'm going to roll out of here, get back on the trail, and start thinking about how I want the end of my day to go. Interestingly, the check-in for this campground that I'm going to was as early as noon. We're well past that at this point. I think we're closer to 2 o'clock at this point. Are we? 1:49 p.m. So yeah, the nice thing is that I don't have to worry about, I was concerned that it was going to be like a 3 or 4 o'clock check-in and that I might be there a little too early. No problem. So that'll be good. I think that what I'm probably going to do is there's a couple of places. There's an Aldi grocery store and there's a gas station with a Subway. Depending on how I'm feeling and how do I just want to get in there and pitch a tent and not leave, I may grab food ahead of time. But if I'm feeling like I've got some energy left in me, I think I will go get settled, get the tent set up, and then go back and get food. We'll just see. I think I tend to like it when I am settled in, especially on a day like this. I do need to conserve some energy just because I think tomorrow's going to be a day. I think that I'll feel all 35 miles of this, but I also got a terrible night's sleep, and although I did sleep on the plane, as I mentioned earlier, I think hopefully a really good solid night's sleep and a good early start will serve me well tomorrow. Tomorrow is a much longer day. It's another 15 miles. It's closer to 51, I think, when all is said and done. That will get me to Manatee Hammock Campground tomorrow. And there is a large section of it with absolutely no services. So I will be filling up my water cube, I think, about maybe 5 or 10 miles in, just to make sure that I've got all the water and all the stuff that I need. We'll make sure we're loaded up with snacks and things like that. I got plenty of capacity to carry that. Didn't need it today, which was nice. It was nice not to be constantly eating and carrying lots of food and
an unnecessary amount. It was totally fine. Tomorrow, it's going to be different. I'm going to need to make sure that I've got enough stuff to get me through those 30 miles. Once I get through that section, there's going to be some things. I'll be effectively going down US 1, which is, of course, a major thoroughfare. But there's also some side roads that look really, really nice. That'll be right on the water. That'll be part of that. But that's next week for you. Why am I previewing all of this? I still got miles to bang out here. So off we go.
Still on the Seminole Kiva or Kiva. I'm going to have to find out the pronunciation for that. Some of you who are train buffs may know Sanford, because that is the forward terminus of the auto train, which runs from essentially suburban DC in Lorton, Virginia, all the way to Sanford, Florida, suburban Orlando. So I'm very close to there. But the cool part of this trail is just right here. And the reason why it's is because the residents or someone paints these beautiful murals on a stretch of about a quarter mile of the trail on the trail side of the residents' fences. And it's a lot of pop culture references and a lot of other things that I think are really cool. Everything from, of course, Star Wars, which I lingered on, to, Batman and music. There's a tremendous Beatles one. There's a section that's Save the Animals kind of thing. And really, really cool, unique bit of flavor here for this portion of the trail. Any video that you see on YouTube of anybody that has done this trail pretty much ends up lingering a bit here, and for good reason, because the artwork is pretty cool. Good classic arty graffiti, if that's your bag, like it is mine. I think it's cool. So we are a mere 10 to 12 miles away from camp. Starting to feel it a little bit, so I'm taking it easy. There's also a bit of a grade here. It seems, or it could be in my head, that it's just flat and I'm having to pedal a lot. Feeling a lot of lactic acid in my legs as there's even more. Are there more murals here? I thought I was done with them, but I guess not. Nope, they are done. So the lactic acid is building up. So I think I may try to really hydrate up, see if that can help, maybe do some stretching to get rid of it. It's an uncomfortable feeling towards the end of the day, and I'm a little concerned that I'm only 20 some odd miles into my ride, and I've got to do double that tomorrow. So we shall see. As I mentioned, I don't think it was a great idea for me to come into this not in terrific shape, but I'll make it work one way or the other. If it's not fun, there's always fast forwards, which I will resist doing, but if it's the difference between making it and not, of course, that's an easy call. Also, I'm not in a race. I'm very early. I'm not pushing hard. So I think this is a great time to just enjoy. It's really nice to be on a trail because I don't feel the kind of push that being in traffic sometimes makes you feel, where you're just kind of like, get me out of here. I'm definitely not feeling that in a much more kind of casual space. Just got passed by somebody here. We're at mile marker 8 on the trail, just to give you an idea of where we're at. Most of the cyclists here tend to be on road bikes, and they're doing it for exercise, is my best way of putting it. I haven't run into any Pelotons or anything like that, but it is a weekday afternoon, so I wouldn't really expect that to be the case. But not a lot of families with kids, for instance, but those kids are probably in school. I think things will change greatly on Saturday, but Saturday I'm not going to be on any trails. That's going to be another Disney Assaults Day, and I don't know what to expect from that, but that's a few weeks from when you're hearing this. You'll hear much more about that down the road. I got a nice little downgrade here, so I'm just coasting, which feels good. The winds are coming from the direction I'm going in, so I am catching a little bit of a headwind. It's gentle, but it's there, so I think that the winds will continue to increase as the afternoon progresses, which I guess is another reason why I'm interested in getting into camp on the earlier side, or at least getting closer to camp now. It should be a great night. I really I'm really thinking that the camping is going to be spectacular. The temperatures will be nice and cool, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm thinking about, okay, what do I want in camp? What kind of food do I want to try to smuggle in an adult beverage or not? Pretty much in Sanford right now, going parallel with I-4, and I'm about to pass a place that I've passed by on I-4 many times. Didn't realize that this trail was on the other side of the building, and that is AAA's main headquarters. If you are not in the States, is the American Automobile Association, and lots of people are members of it, and it gives them lots of benefits for towing that are helpful if you have a motor vehicle, but you don't need AAA. You can work with another type of automobile club that, I don't know, doesn't have horrible policies that are really antithetical to cycling and pedestrians and all sorts of different things. I personally am a member of the Better World Club, which gives me all the same benefits, but with less bad stuff. So the wind is, as you can hear, really ripping right now. So I'm kind of feeling it. Making a quick right here on the now Cross Seminole Trail. So we are definitely getting closer and closer. I think I will be going, again, parallel with I-4. I'll eventually get on the other side of it and go through, effectively, Sanford, the town of Sanford, the city of Sanford. And then we're really, really close to Lake Monroe, and that's, of course, where I'll be ending my night. Legs are feeling better. I think hydrating was something I needed. Who knows? Maybe that beer was a bad idea. I don't know. You get conflicting things about having a beer mid-ride. Some people think, especially for like really, really tough rides, really where you're really depleting yourself, a beer can be a great way to deliver some quick carbs to you. But I mean, so does a soda, I suppose. So I don't know. I think that alcohol is probably a net negative when you take it, but it was delicious and I'm glad I had it because I didn't have that many miles to go. And I still don't have many miles to go. I have even fewer, in fact. All right. Again, trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the evening. We're round on the corner to 3:12 right now. So about the time when I like to get into camp and sometimes when I like to wrap things up. Of course, the sun goes down probably not long after 5:30 or so. So I really don't think I want to mess around too much. I think I'm going to get food and I think I'm going to bring it to camp. That alone is the good reason there. So I have plenty of time to get things together, get a shower, and then once it gets dark, just head into the tent and be done with it. Just a couple of miles from camp right now, making a turn and then getting up to Lake Monroe, which will be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Got my own little campsite that's specifically a hiker-biker one. Got a reservation, so I'm all set for that. I am at a CVS, picked up a couple of things. I got a sandwich elsewhere for tonight for dinner, and I think I'm just going to hunker down there. Decided against the adult beverage with dinner tonight. I think that I want a full and unimpeded good night's sleep. And I am looking forward to mowing down on some food and camping for the first time in a while. It's been a minute, so should be fun. Looking forward to it. All right, off we go. Next stop, Lake Monroe. From Lake Monroe. County Park, I think. Nice campsite. It's noisy. You can probably hear the highway. There are trains nearby. So it's not a super ideal, but considering we're very much in the urban, suburban kind of space, this is a really nice setup. And oh, by the way, it is completely free. If you are going to be doing the C2C trail, and this is in your camping plans, you just need to call Volusia County, their parks department, and check and see if it's open for that date. It's Site 21. It is reserved specifically for trail users, and because you're a trail user, you're not driving in, it's totally free. So, great setup. I did notice there are some burrs. I got them on my clothes, and I'm really a little nervous about getting on my bike because I am not 100% sure if I have a spare tube, which makes me really nervous. I have only needed a spare tube the one time, and then I went through all of my spare tubes because it was a tire problem, not just a traditional flat. But yeah, we'll just see how that goes. You know how my tours sometimes go sideways from time to time. I will be making sure that when I roll the bike, I will be looking at every single square inch of those tires tomorrow morning. But yeah, I ate a good chunk of my dinner already, and then I went to the bathhouse, and showers were free. They were little dank on the inside, but considering the price here, it was great, and I really needed it because I needed to wash off the sweat in the stuff. I think that tomorrow there's the chance of getting potentially saddle sores or something like that, just because of the nature of the weather down here and whatnot. But 35 miles I was able to be okay. Tomorrow I might be feeling it a little bit towards the end of the day, but I figure it's only an extra 15 or 17 miles. I can't remember exactly how much extra mileage tomorrow. So yes, it's measurable. Yes, it's probably going to hurt towards the end of it, depending on how the day is going, depending on the weather. I think it's going to be less sun and actually a little cooler, so maybe that'll help. But I do recognize that tomorrow is a bit of a challenge. And then, of course, day 3 is also a challenge as well. Not quite as much miles. But, actually, that day is longer. Yes, I think day 3 is longer. Anyways, I am excited for sunset. It's coming in about maybe 20, 30 minutes. And then we'll probably have some twilight. So I'll probably stay out on the picnic table for a bit, finish eating, and then once we get fully dark, go into the tent and either listen to some podcast or an audiobook or maybe watch something, maybe read. But I have a funny feeling I will be out very, very early tonight. Perhaps, let's see, if the sun's going to be going down, if I'm going to be going to the tent by 6:30, I'll bet you I'll be asleep by 8. That's just how it's been going today, especially after not having great sleep last night. And I've got my good pad inflated. You can just tell there's a nice breeze. It's going to be nice and cool tonight. Not cold, but cool. So I'm excited for throwing on the cold hat and get underneath that bag and sleeping the sleep of champions. All right. We will see you next week.
Statistics. Miles flown, 862. Miles biked, 35.4. Number of 44 stars given, 1. Times my phone dropped off my MagSafe bike mount, 4. It got better, but let's be honest, it wasn't great. Auto clubs mentioned, 2. 1 sucks, 1 good. Footlongs consumed, 1. Flats, 0. And as always, we like to close out the show with a special shout out to the Pedal Shift Society. Because of support from listeners like you, Pedal Shift is a weekly bicycle touring podcast with a global community. Expanding into live shows and covering new tours. If you like what you hear, you can support the show for $5, $2, or even $1 a month. And there's one shot and annual options if you're not into the small monthly thing. Check it all out at pedalshift.net/society. On to the society. Kimberly Wilson, Caleb Jenkinson, Cameron Lean, Andrew McGregor, Michael Hart, Keith Nagel, Brock Dittus, Thomas Skadow, Marco Lowe, Terrence Manson, Harry Telgadis, Chris Barron, Mark Van Ram, Brad Hipwell, Mr. T, Nathan Poulton, Stephen Dickerson, Vince LaGreco, Cody Florchinger, Tom Beninati, Greg Braithwaite, Sandy Pizzio, Jeff Muster, Seth Pollock, Joseph Quinn, Drew Porter, Byron Patterson, Joaquin Robert, Ray Jackson, Jeff Fry, Kenny Mikey, Lisa Hart, John Denkler, Steve Henkel, Miguel Quinones, Alejandro Aviles Reyes, Keith Spangler, Greg Towner, Jody Zaranin, Lucas Barwick, Michael Baker, Brian Bechtal, Reinhard Bigel, Greg Middlemiss, Connie Moore, William Gothman, Brian Benton, Joan Churchill, Mike Bender, Rick Weinberg, Billy Crafton, Gary Matushak, Greg Latoile Lopez, James Sloan, Jonathan Dillard, John Funk, Ronald Paroli, Dave Roll, Brian Hafner, Misha LeBlanc, Ari Messenger, David Kropke, Todd Grossbeck, Wally Estrella, Sue Reinert, John Lico, Stephen Granada, Philip Mueller, Robert Lackey, Dominic Carroll, Jackie McCullough, John Hickman, Carl Presseau, David Neves, Patty Louise, Terry Fitzgerald, Peter Steinmetz, Timothy Fitzpatrick, Michael Lazuski, Hank O'Donnell, David Zanoni, David Weil, Matthew Sponsel, Chad Reno, Spartan Dale, Carolyn Ferguson, Peggy Littlefield, Lauren Allensmith, Eric Burns, Thomas Pearl, Darren McKibben, Richard Stewart, Dave Fletcher, Jack Smith, Luke Parkinson, Ryan Patterson, Sarus Faravar, John Gardner, Sam Scruggs, Dwight Pittenger, Connie Bowder, Rob Merrifield,
And thanks to all past and anonymous folks for helping make this show happen.
Thank you for joining. You can find Pedal Shift at pedalshift.net for more great bicycle touring content. You can hear the Pedal Shift project through Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. Opening music courtesy of Jason Kent off his self-titled album. The track is called America. Check out his band Sunfield's latest release, Mono Mono, wherever cool music is available.